Hi everyone, we're here with 4-4 Work Together, and we're going to talk about when we have a mistake in our posting. Again, if we've made a mistake on our journals, it's pretty simple to go back and change it, but when there's a mistake on our posting, when we've taken that journal entry and we've already posted it to its ledger, then to go back and change it there's kind of a domino effect that happens where you're changing a lot of balances. So what you're going to do in order to change something when there's a mistake is what's called a correcting entry, and that's what we're going to work with today. So we have two transactions here that we're going to go ahead and journalize below on page 21 in the current month of December for the current year. And we're going to journalize these items for correcting entries. So we have two items. The first one, it says, on December 1st, we discovered that a transaction for supplies bought last month was journalized and posted in error as a debit to prepaid insurance instead of as a debit to supplies for $75, and 15 was our source document. So we'll go ahead and fill in the date, which is December 1st. We're going to go ahead and fill in our doc number, which was M15. Now, what we need to do is we need to figure out what we're going to debit and what we're going to credit, because on a correcting entry, it's still just like any other journalized item. We still have to have one debit and one credit that we're working with. So we accidentally debited prepaid insurance, and we weren't supposed to. Okay, we were supposed to debit supplies, we accidentally debited prepaid insurance. So therefore, if we accidentally debited prepaid insurance $75 and we can't go back and erase it, a way that we can kind of make it go away or just kind of be null and void, meaning that we're just balancing out, is if we debited something we weren't supposed to, we can go and credit something, that same amount, and then it'll just kind of be like null and void, the transaction never happened. However, since we have to list our debit first, we're going to figure out what we have to debit. Well, supplies is what we actually purchased, and we didn't debit that. We didn't show that increase to supplies. So we're going to go down here and we're going to debit supplies, and we're going to debit for $75. And then we're going to go and credit prepaid insurance. And we're crediting prepaid insurance again because we accidentally before debited prepaid insurance. We weren't supposed to. So by crediting it, we're basically just wiping out that transaction. However, we still needed to show that we had that supplies increase. So that's why we have the debit there. All right, for the second one, December 1st, discovered that a transaction for rent expense last month was journalized and posted in error as a debit to repair expense instead of rent expense $900, memorandum 16. So our date again was the 1st. We can go ahead and fill in memorandum 16. Now we need to say, okay, we accidentally debited repair expense. We weren't supposed to. So in order to get rid of that, we're going to go and credit it the same amount. We were supposed to debit rent expense, and we did it. So we need to go and debit rent expense. So we're going to debit rent expense, and that was for $900. And we need to go and credit repair expense, and that was for $900. So again, we're debiting what we were supposed to in the first place, and we didn't. We're crediting repair expense because we accidentally debited it. Now we need to credit it to just basically even it out. Okay, next thing, it says it was also discovered that two posting errors were made in the owner's drawing account. The November 15th entry showed that the amount should have been $540. You can see we put $450 down here, and it should have been $540. The November 30th entry included a debit to the drawing account for $400, and that was posted in error as a credit. So we posted this as a credit to $400 when it should have been a debit. Determine what amount should be entered in each lettered cell. If it has a zero balance, just leave it blank. So in cell A, we have $450, but we're told that we should have had $540. So we're going to write down $540. Cell B we leave blank. We didn't have a credit for this transaction. We leave that blank. Cell C, again, our balance is in the right column. We're in our normal balance for drawing, but the amount is wrong. So in C, we should have had, again, $540. D will still remain blank. We don't ever put anything in the column that is not the normal balance. E, we should have had a debit. We were told in the directions that this credit should have been a debit. So for E, we should have had $400. F should actually have been blank. We didn't have a debit, so that should actually have been blank. So we're going to leave F blank. G, our new balance. Well, in C, we should have $540. We have a debit taking place actually, so we should actually add that, not subtract it. So $540 plus the 400 that's actually right here is going to give us a total of 940. H remaining blank because again we don't put anything in that column that is not the normal balance. And that's it for 4-4.